It is Wednesday. Tennessee, Alabama week in full effect. Welcome to the program. She's Amanda LaFratta. I'm Dave. Amanda's mad at me for playing copyrighted music.
Oh, I'm not. I
Maybe,
love this song.
maybe perturbed. Maybe perturbed is a better word.
Not perturbed.
Welcome, loaded up today. Ryan Brown will join us for the next round live, a preview of Alabama. That will come up just a little bit later. A full rundown of what's happening with the Vols is Tennessee, Alabama. Good morning, Amanda LaFratta. How are you?
Good morning, Dave. I'm cold. How are you?
It's odd. I was cold yesterday morning. I had like 3 layers on, and this morning it's not very. Are you okay there? Did somebody fall into your
No.
stand?
No, I have one of those things that is like the stand-up desk,
Okay.
and
It
apparently it wasn't.
looks like a fall down desk to me.
Well, it wasn't like on its thing, and so I guess it just hit just then.
Yes. Okay. Well, everything's good. Everything's good. So good morning to Amanda. We've got a news from Tennessee. Crazy said we don't give a damn about the whole state of Alabama. Yes, it is that week. It is funny how much things have changed. I can remember doing a Saturday sports talk remote in 2000, and this was when Tennessee was dominating Alabama at the time. It has been a series of streaks, and I remember playing this song that somebody put together, and it was to Sweet Home Alabama, and it was We Own Alabama. And a caller called, this is how much things have changed, and said, Hey, I just want to tell you, I think that's incredibly insulting to Alabama and the rivalry in the series. And I'm like, it's just fun. Nowadays, that wouldn't even get a second look, but I try to find that song. But Tennessee definitely does not own Alabama. It'll be the first time in a gajillion years if the Vols are able to pull off the upset. So let's take a look at what is going on in Tennessee's world as we are at Wednesday of Alabama week. And let's begin with Henry To'o. Did I pronounce that correctly?
I think it's Henry Toto.
It
It's what
is.
I've been taught.
It, it is Henry To'o.
Okay.
I inside joke. I've had fun with the same guy who called it the AF, the All American Football League or whatever in the heck they call it.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
same dude.
remember that.
I've had him all confused with how to pronounce To'o. So he returns to Tennessee, and this isn't the first time he's played the Vols. He played the Vols last year, but it is good for him that he was able to transfer. And I said that in a column, and it may rub some Tennessee fans the wrong way, but coaches were able to come and go. Man, I'm curious. I've got your thoughts on the NIL and a lot of other things, but I don't know that I've gotten your thoughts necessarily on the transfer rules and how they're applicable now. And Henry To'o, he trusted Jeremy Pruitt, which was a very bad decision. And he bolted before he really even got to know Josh Heupel. Now, in retrospect, he probably would have had a fantastic career at Tennessee, second half of his career, and everything would have been fine because we now know Josh Heupel is a solid coach, but he didn't know that at the time. I like the fact that he was able to transfer. College coaches told me that this was completely undermine college football, because you couldn't build a roster, and I get all that, but Tennessee has benefited from transfers, so is Alabama. But at the end of the day, I'm going to side with the kid, Amanda, and it was just an unfair contract. I'm curious what you think of it.
So I'm going to side. This is my thoughts. You should be able to transfer, but only for certain reasons. Only for specific reasons should you be able to transfer, like we're seeing people transfer now. You should be able to transfer if something's going on at home and you want to move closer to home. You should be able to transfer if your head coach or the person that recruited you is leaving. You should be able to transfer then. I don't think it was fair where coaches could just up and leave and then the players were stuck, because you don't know who's coming in next and you might not fit their scheme. You might not be the kind of person they need to run, especially in the offensive side of the ball. You might not fit that. So then you never play, and that's unfair to students, athletes, whatever. That's unfair. But now the ability just to transfer wherever you want to transfer, like we see, Eli Ricks at Alabama is a quarterback for Alabama. He transferred from LSU. He's looking like he's going to transfer back to LSU. Like, that's ridiculous. Why are you transferring back and forth? Like, that shouldn't be allowed. But there's a solid, like a fine line that you can take where it is fair to both parties. Now that these kids are getting paid in the NIL, now that this is a thing, then they should be under contract, similar to a coach under contract. There should be consequences if you break that contract, unless it's for.
But what are the consequences?
You have to sit out a year. There's your consequences.
Oh, why? A coach doesn't have to sit out a year.
I know, but he leaves. I mean, that's a contract in which the contract is bought out.
Well, I mean, I mean that. No, I don't think the kid should ever have to sit. And I thought the dumbest rule was that he would have to sit, but if he wasn't released by the school, he'd have to pay his own way. So essentially, I think you and I would probably agree a financial penalty against what was an amateur athlete was pretty stupid at the time and very unfair. Now they're
maybe
not.
Now.
Well, yeah, I know where you're going now that they're not amateur athletes. So, but paying their own way at school is not an issue. I mean, they're going to be able to take care of that. But that was an issue before, which I just thought was insane that a coach could leave, make more money, but a player would have to pay his own way if he transferred. You're talking about a really slippery slope there, Amanda. So, is it the head coach leaving? Is it the recruiting, the guy who recruited him leaving? Is it the defensive coordinator? I just don't know how you would define that as what I would call a quote significant change at the university, which I think is what you're driving at. I don't know how you would define that.
It would be, you would be able to choose on the contract as a player, either the two people that if they leave, you can leave. Could be the head coach and the person that recruited you. It could be the head coach and the defensive coordinator or the offensive coordinator or whoever you play for. It could be the linebackers coach and the head coach. You should be able to have an out if you need it. If they leave and you don't want to be there anymore because of their exit, then you should have an out in that regard. But you
again,
get to determine what that is.
But a band member doesn't have to sit out a year if he transfers from Tennessee to Alabama's band.
A band member is not getting paid.
Well, a coach is getting paid and he gets to leave. I mean, the sitting out a year is way antiquated. I mean, that's never going to come back.
Then make it a financial thing. But there should be some consequence for kids up and leaving.
I don't think so. I'm going to side with the kid on this. I think you should be able to cruise on out. I know
he's not a kid
or a young man, whatever he is. I mean, okay, fine. You can leave one job for another. There's not there are non-competes in the radio biz and in sales biz, but I don't think that is the issue here. I have no problem with the kid transferring. I would say the same thing with the guys that have transferred into Tennessee, Brew McCoy. I mean, I had no problem with that. And what we've found in the early stages of this is it's not as widespread as college coaches 10 years ago would have you believe. They wanted to say back in the day, oh, you can never build a roster. You can never have a roster. It would be mass chaos. No, it hasn't been mass chaos. It's been some guys. But how many significant players actually transfer? 20, 25 a year? You had the kid Jordan Addison who went from Pitt to Southern California. You had Brew McCoy. You had Jahmyr Gibbs, who went from Georgia Tech to Alabama. But how many kids are really significant each and every year? 20, 25?
We don't know yet. Not in the days that NIL and the transfer portal being wide open. That's going to change. That's going to drastically increase. And we've seen it already increasing. We've already seen kids bouncing back and forth and going wherever, entering the transfer portal all of that. We see all of that now. We didn't see that 6 years ago.
But it's not mass chaos. It's not. It's just 24 dudes, two dozen significant dudes across the nation. I mean,
NIL just went into place, so we'll see how massive of chaos it is.
well, NIL and transfer rules are two different things. The transfer rules have not. Now, the NIL, you and I would agree, is intended for players that have played. By the way, our Down and Dirty at 30 brought to you by Honeybee Coffee. Honeybee Coffee gets you up and going, and Honeybee Coffee just tastes better. The top 5% of beans, Amanda, there's a reason that Honeybee Coffee has locations around Knoxville. They're very successful, and there's a reason that you can tell a difference when you have Honeybee Coffee. Order online. It's just good coffee, Amanda.
It is. And I know the owner of Honeybee. I've known him for a long time. I knew him before he even opened Honeybee. And he is like one of the nicest people on the planet. I mean, he is just fair and wants everybody. He's one of these people that just wants everybody to be happy. And so you can tell that going in there. You can see the people that work there. You can, there's a difference. You can tell that there's a difference at Honeybee. So if you want to support somebody that's doing good in the world, that's the place you should go.
Love it. Couple of other notes. The Down and Dirty at 30 for all the talk of Tennessee struggles in the secondary. The Vols have not had issues up front. Tennessee's defense ranked second in the SEC in rushing defense, allowing 89.2 yards per game. Only Alabama higher at 84.5 yards per game in rush defense allowed. Of course, the case could be made that teams don't run against the Vols nearly as often because their pass defense allows 307 yards a game, which is 13th in the SEC. Only Vanderbilt is worse. Stopping the run, I believe, will be key against Alabama, especially if Heisman Trophy winning quarterback Bryce Young is not able to play, and then they're going to rely on the legs of Jalen Milroe. So Alabama, with or without Young, likes to run the football. Alabama is first in the SEC in rushing yards, 257 yards per game. We mentioned the To'o mobile quarterbacks. This is yet another week that Tennessee could have to go against a very mobile quarterback, or at least a mobile quarterback. Obviously, he's the Heisman Trophy winner. So if it's Bryce Young, of the four potential mobile quarterbacks that they have faced or will face, in Milroe, Anthony Richardson of Florida, Jaden Daniels of LSU, I believe Bryce Young is by far the most dangerous. He's the best thrower of the group. He's a good enough runner to keep you honest, and I think he keeps his eyes downfield. And I mean, obviously, that's the best of the group. But it's funny now. You talk about it used to be playing a mobile quarterback was a big deal, man. And now it's pretty much every week. It's just they're all a little bit different. It's like facing a guy with a better arm downfield or a better touch passer. Or I mean, they're all mobile now. Nobody's just standing there like a stiff.
No, there's very few pocket passers left in college, and we can get into this another day, but that's affecting the NFL. We see that. We see the effect that's having, where you have the Tom Brady's who's not mobile, who's sitting in the pocket, who's 45, and you have the RG3s who burn out in 4 years, and the Cam Newtons, because they are mobile and they take the big hits. But going into college, the mobile quarterback is now just it's the norm, and the pocket passers are not. So it's easy for us to say, oh, they allow this many yards in the air. The thing that you can't allow are the points. You can allow as many yards as you need to allow. The points are what matters. So keeping people out of the end zone, whether it's from running or whether it's throwing, that's the reason why defenses look so bad now. They look so lopsided. It's because you have a mobile quarterback, and before, all you had to do really was make sure he stayed in the pocket and defend the pass. Now they run around, so your defense is running around everywhere, like trying to combat like this three-headed monster, and you can't do that. Just keep him out of the end zone, and that is what you need to do.
Can anybody on the message board give me an example of just a stiff that sits there and can't run at all? I can't think of, even in the NFL, Tom Brady would be the one. I don't think, he doesn't move around. He has great pocket presence. Don't get me wrong, but is there any Joe Burrow is the next up and coming guy. He can run. The kid at L.A. I want to call it San Diego with the Chargers. Justin Herbert, he can run. They
Yes.
they they all can run. I mean I think those days are just over. I think Peyton Manning and Tom Brady were the last of that crew that could just sit in the pocket. A couple of notes from
Mm,
the message board. Yes. What?
sorry. Matt Stafford, Kirk Cousins. I think those two.
Okay. Yeah, definitely those two. Probably
Derek Carr.
yeah, Derek Carr. Probably the last, I would think, of that wave of guys.
Yeah, but how long have they been in the NFL?
Right. I mean, I think after they're gone, everybody's going to be able to move at least at a Joe Burrow level, which is
I
pretty good.
think, yeah, but I think we're going to see with the way that they take hits, I think we're going to see a lot more turnover as far as quarterbacks concerned. Aaron Rodgers, same way.
See, I think guys are pretty smart about getting down. If they're not, then yes, they will be knocked out. Crazy saying Stafford's not mobile. I agree.
Yeah.
Mobile at all. Sam said it's a free country. Let them transfer. Kevin says the transfer portal finally works in the benefit of the student athlete instead of just the NCAA coaches. I agree. Sam said Will Levis. Will
I
Levis,
thought about him.
yeah, I mean, he's not a very mobile guy. So yeah, I mean, there are going to be a couple of guys. I'm not saying it's across the board, but whereas 10 years ago you talked about a guy with mobility as being unusual and different, now I think you're talking about just the pure pocket passer is unusual and different. And there is nothing that is like the mattress place. You talk about unusual and different. They are that 30 to 70% off each and every day. Marine Corps veteran owned, over 225 5-star reviews, and they are simply fantastic. That is the mattress place on Chapman Highway. Tell them Off the Hook Sports sent you. It's much closer to downtown than you would think, and close to campus as well. So, couple of other notes that I do want to get to. And again, Ryan Brown of the Next Round Live. He used to be with WJOX in Birmingham, does a fantastic job of covering Alabama and Auburn. So he's going to join us here in just a few minutes. But a couple of other quick notes I did want to throw out there. The goalpost rumor. My goodness gracious. The goalpost rumor, I called the guy yesterday and at the welding shop. I'm not even going to give the name so more people don't call him. And he sounded very perturbed. And he said, I said, there's this rumor flying around on social media. I said, stop. I said, that's exactly what it is. It's a rumor. And I don't even think there was a bye-bye, have a nice day. I think it was a click. So they're not preparing goalposts to be torn down. But would Tennessee tear down the goalpost if they beat Alabama?
Tennessee would tear down the university.
Probably right. Will Anderson gets the most publicity of any defender that's going to be in the game on Saturday. Rightly so. I think he's a generational top player. But the more important defensive end, linebacker / pass rusher, edge, if you want to call him that, would be Byron Young. I think he's the most important guy. I think Will Anderson's going to have a solid to very good to great day. I think if Byron Young has a good to great day, it greatly improves Tennessee's chances. But if you haven't had a chance to see Will Anderson play much, he's phenomenal. And I'm sure you saw him last year when he had 2 sacks against the Vols. But Tennessee's better against edge rushers than they were last year. You had BJ Ojulari and Ollie Gay. They only had 11 tackles against Tennessee, and none occurred behind the line of scrimmage. And that was with a backup at left tackle since Gerald Mincey couldn't go. It was Jeremiah Crawford. I'm not saying, Amanda, that Will Anderson's going to get shut down, but the Vols are, I think, much better prepared to at least limit his effectiveness this year than they were last year.
I think that's just kind of an obvious, look at it. And the whole thing about Tennessee their defense being that bad. I don't think they're that bad. I don't see why people think that they're that bad unless they just look at stats as far as like yards are concerned. But I don't think Tennessee is that bad. I mean, they've gone against some pretty tough competition. And honestly, some of those quarterbacks seem like they're playing the games of their lives when they go against Tennessee. And it's not because Tennessee's defense isn't getting pressure or they're not, forcing them to throw. It's just something that's happening where these quarterbacks come alive. And I don't understand it, but I don't think Jalen Milroe is going to be that for Alabama if he's set to go. Now, Bryce Young, on the other hand, is something completely different. But I think Tennessee, I mean, their defense is pretty good, in my opinion. And their offensive line is really the key here about stopping people like Will Anderson.
I don't think Tennessee's defense is good. I think up front they're good. I think in the back end they're pretty bad.
I think they're okay. We'll see. If Bryce Young plays, we'll see how good their back end is. But that's kind of an odd statement. But if Jalen Milroe plays, you don't have to worry about it. So
getting back to the Henry To'oTo'o thing, can you imagine with the way Aaron Beasley's playing, who's Tennessee's leading tackler right now, and Jeremy Banks, who is a playmaker, they would have to. Beasley plays the mic right now as To'oTo'o does at Alabama. Can you imagine, though, if they had those three, you'd probably slide Beasley outside, I would think. That would be one of the best linebacking cores in the nation. No question.
I mean, have you seen the cheetah defense Alabama has now?
Cheated me once, shame on me. Cheated me twice, shame on you.
No, it's like it's their three big dudes all in there at one time. It's Will Anderson and I can't remember. I'm terrible with names. I've always been terrible with names.
What is
yeah, Dave? It's on the screen.
Yes, that makes it easier. What if I take it away? Chris saying Bama's defense is ranked 118 and in a pretty important stat as well. Just saying, I don't know where you're getting 118, Chris. I don't know where that's coming from. Kirk Cousins getting a shout out, and it's Kirk, not Kurt. He is.
Yes, Kirk.
He is a statue, according to one person. John saying the front end is good, the middle is all right, the back end is not good. Talking about Tennessee's defense, and I agree with all that. And then we have Crazy saying Vols by 50. And Joe saying, don't tell me Richard G. West got you, Dave. No, of course he didn't. We were having some fun with it.
I sent it to Dave.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't real, but I did figure I'd call and it'd be fun. And yeah, it took 5 minutes and it was, I thought it was fun. I mean, I tend to be more of an X's and O's guy and schematics guy and all that. But at the end of the day, I think sports are supposed to be fun. And that kind of reminded me of the days where, you might have somebody, I think it was it 88, I believe, where somebody said that they were going to stand on a billboard or something until Tennessee won or something like that. I remember from my youth, I was very young, but they were up on a billboard because they started the season like 0-5. So they were up on a billboard for like a month and a half, like 6 weeks.
So they actually did it?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, okay, then.
Owl's Nest Barbecue is where you need to be. Owl's Nest Barbecue in Ooltewah has all your barbecue supply needs, whether it's the sauces, the rubs, whether it may be something fantastic like the Green Mountain Grill. They've got it all. And that is Owl's Nest Barbecue. Owl's Nest Barbecue is in Ooltewah. So when you're in the area, stop by and you'll have all the barbecue supplies you could ever dream of. And so coming up, we will have This Day in Sports History. And Brittany's saying good morning. She will be back as soon as she gets out of the doctor's appointment. So I hope everything's well there. We share a lot on this message board. Hopefully it's just a wellness checkup. So
I'm sure she wouldn't tell us if she was like, if it was something, she was headed into the hospital for surgery or something. Yeah, I'm sure she wouldn't be like, we'll get out. No, I'll tune in.
I got to get on that Off the Hook YouTube channel first and let them know that,
Yeah.
yeah, I've got to enter the emergency room right now. So I don't think that's the case. So Ryan Brown coming up of the Next Round Live, and he is simply fantastic. We'll get his thoughts on the Tennessee Alabama game, and we will be back in 2 minutes. Great place to watch the game. Big Orange Phillies. Hang with me, kids.
Gary Viles here. I want to personally invite you to North Knoxville's newest sports bar and restaurant. It's Big Orange Phillies, located in Black Oak Center. And yes, folks, it's happening in Halls. Big Orange Phillies offers family-friendly environment with homemade meals and the best deli-style subs around. Billiards, darts, jukebox, shuffleboard, and cornhole, and a full bar. We also offer valet parking on weekends and during special events. We even have a covered back patio. It's happening at Big Orange Phillies. We want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
This is Al's Dish Barbecue Supply, so come on in and see all the different rubs and sauces we have, plus a complete line of Green Mountain grills. Don't be overwhelmed. We have plenty of help so you can produce the best barbecue and amaze your family and friends. Barbecue is America's food. We'll do what we can to bring you all the best products. We're Al's Nest Barbecue, where Chattanooga goes to grill.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassey Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassey, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassey's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassey Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
Welcome back. Joined by a very special guest. We want to get right to him. The inspiration behind what we're doing. Ryan Brown joins us for the Next Round Live. Look at him, he's smiling. He's up and at 'em this morning. I don't know, Ryan, are you a morning person? You did that early shift like I did for a while, and that was hell on earth.
Yeah, no. I am not a morning person at all. Years of that without snapping and killing somebody day. I like my sleep. Here's why I know June 16th of 20, and I made a vow then I will never regularly wake up to an alarm, ever. A couple of occasions, but no regular alarm. Horrible feeling to me.
Hey, Ryan, we're having trouble with your connection. Let's see if we can get you to reconnect if you don't care. And sometimes that fun stuff happens, but we'll get you to reconnect right in there and we'll get that taken care of. If you have questions for Ryan about Alabama, go ahead and get on board now. And I know that he works with Henry To'o, much like we do with Cooper Mays and Jacob Warren. So I want to get some insight into that, and we'll get Ryan right back. But yeah, that early morning shift, that's pretty brutal. The 6 to 9 a.m. or he was doing 6 to 10 a.m. and that was pretty hairy. But now, in case you haven't checked him out, the Next Round Live and their YouTube channel is all over the place. So it is absolutely phenomenal, the coverage they do of the SEC and Alabama and Auburn. So, Ryan, I think we're better now. How are you? And we still got a delay for some reason. I can't figure out what is going on. Maybe, and now we can't hear you. I guess we'll go with a mic check. Can we try one more time? Yeah, I think we were better off when you had your ear pods in. I don't know if you.
He still has them in.
Yeah, you have them in. I think that maybe the audio is not turned on. There was a little bit of a delay earlier, but now it's we don't have audio. So how about now, Ryan? No, we can't hear you. We can't hear you for some reason. We'll keep working with that. SEC Network said last night that 118 ranked in turnover margin. Somebody posted on our message board. And one thing about we talked about the transfer rule that I think is something pretty significant is that that's, by the way, are you on Safari by chance, Ryan? We've had issues with Safari in the past. I should have mentioned that. That's a possibility. So we'll get Ryan back up there. How about now?
That better.
Yes, that is better, Ryan. We've got you. So
All right.
Yeah. So tell us, Ryan, about working with Henry To'o. I know you guys work with him in a very similar way to I work with Cooper Mays and Jacob Warren. Just your thoughts and impressions on him as a young man, because everything I hear, he's very impressive.
Oh yeah. He is a sharp guy, and he kind of even it's tricky transferring in from a place, and especially from a rival as Tennessee is for Alabama. But from everything I can gather, the moment he transferred in, he was just well accepted into that locker room, kind of took on a role of leadership in that locker room, and his teammates very much liked him. I have found him to be a genuinely likable guy, and I'm sure, look, I would understand the Tennessee fans. He's playing for the enemy. He played for them. He transferred out. That's a tricky situation. I don't anticipate that I could flip any Tennessee fans around on their opinion of him. But if you remove the color of jersey and the team he plays for, I have found him to be a tremendously likable guy. We do some fun interviews with him. He has a good time with us, and he's turned into a very good player. Alabama's got a good defense, and he is a very, very smart guy. And that's one reason to play middle linebacker in the Nick Saban system. You got to be really, really smart, because there's a lot on your plate. There's a lot asked of you just beyond your athletic ability. And I think that's a good descriptor of him. I've heard him described as a genius. I don't know if he would meet whatever the actual definition is of a genius, but he's got to be pretty smart to do what he does.
Agreed. And I think he was pretty smart, and some Tennessee fans might read this the wrong way. I think he was pretty smart to leave when he did. You didn't know that Josh Heupel was going to be what he is, and Tennessee's program had been in disarray for a decade. I don't blame him for leaving, and I think it was probably the right call. In retrospect, he would have been good under Heupel too, but who could blame him for leaving at the time?
Yeah, I mean, you can't see the future, obviously, and your choices are, okay, do I want to play, for a program that is mired in the mud a little bit, there's a coaching change and all those things, or I've got an opportunity to go play for the most elite program in America right now that is constantly playing for championships. I mean, which one are you going to pick? I think, it hurts, but I think the obvious pick, if you've got that opportunity, is to go to Alabama. Now, look, a lot of people will say, you made a commitment, you should be there for 4 years. Well, the other side of that is, Tennessee had made a commitment to a coach that Henry To'o had signed with. Now, look, I got no problem with Tennessee moving on for Jeremy Pruitt. I think it was the right time to do that, and they clearly have made the right choice with Josh Heupel. But, it kind of cuts both ways. I think a lot of times fans like to look at the commitment the player made to the school, but sometimes they don't step back and say, okay, did the school live up to its commitment to Henry To'o or any other player? And I think in a lot of ways you can make an argument that everything he committed to was there. And I know what everybody says, commit to the school, not the coach. I get how you think that, but I just don't think that's real world thinking.
No, and covering recruiting is just not true.
No. No, I mean, you'd love to think that, right? You'd love to think everybody loves Tennessee so much, or everybody loves Alabama so much, they should be committing to that school and wanting to play there. Well, Dave, you talk to these guys, the relationship, not just to that head coach, the assistant coach that recruits them. That's who builds that relationship, right? And then the head coach comes in and closes the deal. So, I think that's what a lot of people lose sight of.
Ryan Brown of The Next Round Live, and you have to check that out. They have a great app as well. It's just really fantastic coverage of the SEC, in particular Alabama and Auburn. They do a really, really good job. I would highly encourage you to check it out. Like, subscribe, and share. And Amanda, jump in there. Go right ahead.
So we are looking at the obvious question that everybody wants to know. Who's starting? Is Bryce Young going to be in this game? If not, can Jalen Milroe handle this? Because I was at Alabama, Texas A&M. I went to the game. I was in the stands. I saw Jalen Milroe. I'm not impressed. I'm sorry. 3 turnovers by one single individual is too much for me. I mean, it's just too much for me. And with that being said, is there any insight you can give us on what's happening with Bryce Young?
Amanda, I think it was too much for Nick Saban too. I don't think he liked the 3 turnovers. I think Bryce Young plays. I would say I'm not 100% on it, but I would say probably 80 to 85% Bryce Young plays. Maybe even higher than that. Maybe even 90%. I think if these games had been reversed, if Alabama came home from Arkansas and then had to turn right around and go to Neyland Stadium, I think they might have considered playing Bryce Young. From what I understand, and obviously, the doctors don't talk about this. There are privacy laws, and I haven't talked to Bryce Young, but just from talking to people around the situation, from what I understand, it's just a pain tolerance thing, that this is a chronic injury that he has had with his shoulder, and it's on plays like you saw on the sideline against Arkansas where he's reaching out trying to gain more yardage and lands on the ball, and it's just it inflamed this issue with his shoulder, and it's kind of a chronic issue. And the doctors, can fire in the Toradol and, numb that pain, and he can play through it. And it may cause him, more issues, and it may just progressively get worse if he doesn't stop and rest it. But if needed, he can do that. And I believe that had this Tennessee game been last Saturday, that's exactly what would have happened. I think Nick Saban thought with Jalen Milroe, we can beat Texas A&M. And he was right, even as you pointed out, Amanda, with 3 turnovers, still they won that football game. And now barely, but they still won the football game. But an uncharacteristically sloppy game by Alabama. And I agree with you. I don't. If it's Jalen Milroe in Knoxville, he's got to play way better. He showed some signs in Fayetteville. He's got to play way better in Knoxville if that's who it is. But I think you'll see Bryce Young. I'm fairly confident about that.
You mentioned sloppy. It's not the first time. Go back to Texas as well, that this Alabama team has played sloppy. Why? How disconcerting is that?
It is concerning. They just don't turn the ball over. Well, for one thing, Alabama in turnover margin is really, really bad. I think when I was trying to get my technical issues worked out here, I think you were actually talking about that, if I'm not mistaken. They're like 118 in the country in turnover margin. And they're just not forcing a ton, and you would think they are because of their defense, which is really good and has these amazing pass rushers. But they're just not forcing a ton of turnovers, and they've turned it over a little bit this season. And, that is surprising because that is just uncharacteristic. Running backs under Nick Saban just do not fumble the football. They just don't. You go back and look at all the running backs that have played for Saban, and if you fumble the football, you're not getting on the field. I don't care how good you are. But you can go back and look at the Mark Ingrams and Trent Richardsons and Derrick Henrys and, Eddie Lacy's and people like that. They just did not put the football on the ground. And, that has happened some this year. And then Milroe, look, those are just blindside strip sacks. That's a guy that's holding on to the ball too long. And I do think, we talk about sloppy play. That's actually something you potentially can clean up. If a guy's got fumbleitis, he's got fumbleitis. Really, Milroe's were just from holding the ball too long. And I think maybe experience helps that a little bit. If he could play a little bit more, maybe he would be better at that.
What do you think Hendon Hooker is going to be able to do to Alabama's defense? How do you think that's going to play out? And with this wide receiving core, with, we have Cedric Tillman probably coming back for rumors. He's coming back for this game. You have, Brew McCoy, you have Jalen Hyatt. You have a lot of offensive weapons on this Tennessee team. How's Alabama going to be able to defend that?
Excuse me. I think that's the main question there. Now, I will say about Cedric Tillman, I think it's interesting because he had that tightrope procedure, which was it was, I guess, perfected, maybe not invented, but perfected by Dr. Norman Waldrop, who was a friend of mine here in Birmingham, and he's one of the Alabama team doctors. Now, I don't know that he did Tillman's, but I'm saying that procedure was kind of perfected by him. And a lot of players, he's joked with me before that a lot of Alabama players have told him they would like to have it done electively because it actually makes your ankle stronger than it was before, the way they do that procedure. However, Tua Tagovailoa had it done, and I think it was 20 days later he played again, and they were very worried about his cutting and just the way he would have to move around in the pocket. And I think if I read right, Cedric Tillman's 18 days out by the time this game kicks. So, while I think he'll play as well, Amanda, I do wonder about his durability with that ankle because is he going to be 100%? I don't know. That said, Hendon Hooker brings to the table the thing that had traditionally given Nick Saban defenses fit, and that's a quarterback fits. That's a quarterback that both can throw and has some wheels and has mobility and is able to evade the pass rush. Now, one thing Nick Saban has kind of started doing, and I don't know what quarterback this would go back to that they faced, but he kind of changed his philosophy on this, and he's taught his guys don't rush past the quarterback, right? All right, so if you're Will Anderson or you're Dallas Turner and you're coming off the edge, if the tackle's forcing you outside and it's one of those where you're going to kind of loop around, some of these quarterbacks, he teaches them stop and then try to come back inside, basically. That's a very elementary description. I get that. But his whole thing is don't ever pass the quarterback, right? Kind of keep the quarterback adjacent to you or in front of you to prevent those big breakout run plays like you can get from a guy like Hendon Hooker. Alabama's secondary, as it pertains to Cedric Tillman or any other Brew McCoy, any other receiver, Alabama secondary, Dave, you mentioned the Texas game. They had a rough game against Texas. A lot of pass interference. They got real handsy. Two things. Number one, I do think they've improved on that. But number two, that was a Big 12 crew, and they call it a little bit different than the SEC. When Alabama has gotten in the SEC, they've been allowed – I know Tennessee fans are going to love what I'm about to say. The officials have allowed them to play a little more physical with the receivers. And that has helped Alabama's defense. But it is a developing secondary. There's no doubt. There were battles at both those corner spots. And it looks like they're going to go with Terrion Arnold, who made the big play at the end. He was the guy that was on the play at the end of the Texas A&M game, and Kool-Aid McKinstry as the two corners there. So that's kind of what it appears they've settled on.
What are your thoughts on how Will Anderson has played so far this year? I think he's a generational type talent going back to Derek Thomas. But your thoughts on how he's played to this point?
Well, he hasn't put up the numbers everybody thought he would. And it is. I'll tell you what Alabama has found in their packages is they've got what they call the cheetah package, right? And it is Will Anderson, Dallas Turner, and Chris Braswell. And you've got these three phenomenal pass rushers, Anderson being the best. And they have those guys in at the same time, and it creates blocking nightmares for the offensive line. So in obvious pass situations, they could have those guys in there, and that'll create a headache for Hendon Hooker. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But Will Anderson, to your point, Dave, I think he's played exceptionally well. I mean, the guy, he pressures the quarterback a lot. They've schemed away from him. He's really good in the run game. While his statistical numbers might not be what everybody thought they were going to be, he has been really, really good this season, even though the numbers aren't quite there. I think a lot of people thought he was going to have, you mentioned Derek Thomas like sack numbers. He's probably not going to get to those numbers this year. But what impact has he had on the game that doesn't show up in the box score is the thing that you have to measure with him.
I'll tell you two things. I know Amanda's going to jump in here. One, the tight end has to help, and Tennessee's tight ends are pretty good. And the other is, unlike Jadeveon Clowney, you can't run the ball at him because he's as good against the run as he is against the pass. So I'm sorry for jumping in there, Amanda. But, yeah, he's not – he may never be a stat sheet guy, but he may be one of the most dominant players in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. And you're right about the tight end. You got to give a tackle help. There's been a couple times I've seen teams – they think they can the motion of the play can go away from him and they can leave him unblocked, and he's able to chase down backs. He's too fast to do that. And then you've seen a couple teams that think they can allow their tackle to try to block him without help, and they can't. So, yeah, I mean, you got to provide help, whether it's a back chipping coming out of the backfield or you dedicate an extra man, dedicate the tight end to blocking him. And again, that's my point, Dave, is that doesn't show up in the statistics, right? Nowhere in the statistics does it say, well, they had to take a man out of the pass game to help block Will Anderson, so they were less effective in the pass game. But that's the kind of things he does for you.
Kool-Aid McKinstry. I love his name, Kool-Aid. I don't know why. I know it's a nickname, but we have Squirrel White on Tennessee's team. We had Ha Ha Clinton Dix at Alabama. I mean, there's a lot of nicknames. How do you think he impacts this game, and what do you think he brings to the table?
Well, he can impact the game in two ways. Well, he can impact the game in several ways. The Texas game that Dave mentioned earlier, he had a really difficult game. He got flagged for a lot of, defensive pass interference calls, and that was obviously a negative impact on the game. I do think he has gotten better, but he is still a guy that likes to use his hands. He's still trying to get out of that high school mode where they're going to allow you maybe to use your hands a little bit off the line of scrimmage. So. That's a negative impact, but the positive impact is he has gotten better and he has become the guy Alabama's going to go with in that corner position. When Brian Branch went out of the Arkansas game injured, Brian Branch plays that all important star position for Nick Saban. So it's a defensive back that does everything. He's got to be really good in pass coverage. He's got to be really physical against the run game. And the backup is Malachi Moore, but they allowed Kool-Aid McKinstry to play at some too. And so he got experience there as well. So I think that kind of shows you what Nick Saban feels about his ability. But the other way he'll impact the game is he's Alabama's punt returner, and he's really, really good in that situation. He's taken one to the house already. He's flipped the field several times. He is a dynamic punt returner for Alabama, and that may even at times be his biggest impact on the game, even though he's out there almost every defensive snap.
Interesting. Yeah. Jahmyr Gibbs transferred in, obviously. I will give him the ultimate compliment. I think he needs to be a Dallas Cowboy because I'm a Cowboys fan. Do you think he needs to be a Miami Dolphin? Because you're a Dolphins fan.
Absolutely. I tell you who he reminds me of. And I've not seen him play a ton at Georgia Tech. And even when he did, it wasn't in an offense like Alabama's, right? But when he came to Alabama, the person I most heard him compared to was Alvin Kamara, which obviously Tennessee fans will be very familiar with. And I tell you, watching him, I think that's a really good comparison. He is so fast. He's a really physical runner at times. But what he's done the last couple of games for Alabama, who's third in the nation in rushing offense, by the way, and first in the nation in yards per attempt. They're almost 7 yards per attempt right now. And a lot of that is because over the last two games, Alabama's run game has awakened. They've gotten their offensive line rotation the way they want it, and Gibbs he's blown up the last two games. When he is able kind of on that cutback to put his foot in the ground, he gets to full speed so quick. And I've seen team after team take such bad angles on him. They just misjudge his speed. He can get to the corner, and he can outrun defensive backs very easily. He is a huge weapon in both the pass game and the run game for Alabama. It could be a huge difference in this game. And I know Tennessee, they've been awful against the pass, but they've been pretty good against the run. So I think that's an interesting matchup is, Alabama's number 3 in the nation rush offense versus Tennessee's rush defense, which is obviously the strength of their defense.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. Do you see, I know we talked about Hendon Hooker a little bit. Do you see a way that Tennessee and Hendon Hooker, because we're going to use that because that's obviously their strength, can win this game versus Alabama defense?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think what I'm about to say is true. I think it is by far and away the best offense Alabama has faced. Now, when Alabama played Texas, those that didn't watch the game, Quinn Ewers, the Texas quarterback, started the game and had a lot of success against Alabama. Dallas Turner hit him. It was a personal foul. That was a terrible call. It was not a malicious, dirty play at all. Turner just hit him and he hurt his shoulder, and he's just now back for Texas. So, that's the asterisk is with Quinn Ewers. This might not be true, but Quinn Ewers didn't play that whole game. This is the best offense Alabama has faced. I would say, based on my opinion, it's the best defense Tennessee has faced. So, I think you've got that really interesting matchup, Amanda, that you've got what is, do we think Alabama's defense is really good? Absolutely. But they haven't faced an offense like this. And again, I'll go back to what I say. It is traditionally the type of quarterback that can give Alabama fits. This is the type of guy that has given Alabama fits. So, I think I think this could be a shootout. I think this could be a game that, the winner is maybe in the low 40s. I could definitely see Alabama struggle, especially on the road, especially with that pace. That's another thing. I mentioned the type of quarterback, but pace has traditionally, that's why Hugh Freeze's offense gave Nick Saban and Kirby Smart nightmares back in the day is they would run at that fast pace. You know, it was one snap. I don't know what the stat is right now for Tennessee, but I think it's been one snap every 16 seconds or something like that. And that has been the type of pace that has given Alabama trouble over the years.
I know you got a show to do, but last thing, you say low 40s could win this game. That tells me that you think Tennessee has a realistic chance of winning, because Jimmy Himes wrote on offthehooksports.com, Alabama 39-0 the past 5 years and holding opponents to less than 30. And Tennessee averaging 46.8. But Josh Heupel, even going back to the Central Florida days, does not win unless he scores over 30. So you think there's a realistic chance that Tennessee wins this game?
Oh, I think they've got a chance. The reason I said in the 40s, I think that's where Tennessee would have to get to win it, Dave. And the reason I say that is I just, look, I mean, Alabama is not dynamic at wide receiver. That is probably the Achilles heel. But if Bryce Young plays this game and he's anywhere close to 100%, there are extenuating circumstances and everything I'm about to mention. I get that before I say it. But I look at Anthony Richardson, who is a far less quarterback than Bryce Young. He threw for 450 yards. Now, look, I know they were behind and they were having to throw all the time, but Tennessee just couldn't stop it. I even look at Jaden Daniels Saturday, and again, I get it. They're behind, they're having to throw, but he threw for 300 yards. I mean, Jaden Daniels, he's average at best. So, if those guys can do that to Tennessee's secondary, what can the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback do to Tennessee's secondary? That's why I think for Tennessee to win it, yeah, they would. I think a Bryce Young that is healthy and playing well, I don't think Tennessee can keep Alabama out of the 40s. That's the way I would put it.
Yep. Great stuff. Ryan, how do we follow your work? You're streaming and you're all over the worldwide interweb.
Yeah, we're just about everywhere you can get us except for radio, right? So just go to nextroundlive.com. That is nextroundlive.com, or at nextroundlive on social media and YouTube. You'll find us all over those places. And I appreciate the kind words you say, and I'm sorry about my lack of professionalism early on with the crappy audio and video and all that. I'm glad I got worked out.
You're golden, brother. Trust me. We've had everything from a tree fall in the power line and knock out Wi-Fi during the show. That was a small blip in the radar. But I think you would agree, going audio to video is a pretty significant jump.
It brings in a lot more things that can go wrong. There's no doubt about it.
Have a blessed day, Ryan. I appreciate it, buddy.
All right, guys. Good talking with you. Y'all take care.
Ryan Brown, Next Round Live, his appearance brought to you in part by Craft Treats. Go to crafttreats.com for the chill pills available at crafttreats.com. Don't forget, you save 20% at checkout with our exclusive code Off the Hook. Go to crafttreats.com, and don't forget, you save 20% at checkout with the exclusive code Off the Hook. And it's great for your pet's digestive issues or anxiety issues or arthritis, which my dog is dealing with a little bit. So that's why the chill pills are fantastic. Hey, he's okay. He was actually a little spry last night after his chill pills. Jumped right up on the bed. Didn't have to use the upper legs to help him up.
You just need to get him a ramp.
I'm not getting him a ramp.
Ava has a ramp.
Yeah, well, I'm not a big fan of Ava. So Amanda, today's tough question. We'll get to that right now.
Okay.
Today's tough question. It's the personal. The bells.
Yeah.
Today's tough question right now.
We do our research. Have you done your research?
Oh, we got 5 different things playing. All right, let's get beyond that. We'll do that right now. It is time for today's tough question, and it's brought to you by our friends at Vols Automotive Group. That's all about integrity. Vols Automotive Group is absolutely phenomenal. So let's get to, I think I can make this work. Let's get to today's tough question. Is maybe right now? I think it's right now. Yes, it is right now.
We do our research. Have you done your research?
We're working like heck.
Today's tough question. What's the real debate?
You sipping my Soupe Guadalupe?
Exclusively on Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker and Amanda LaFratta.
You drinking my sake kimosabi?
Oh my God.
All right, so great column by Jimmy Himes that is on offthehooksports.com. And the key is 30. The magic number is 30. Josh Heupel has never won a game as a head coach without scoring at least 30 points. His record when he does is 40-7. He's lost twice at UT when scoring 30. That was to Pitt and Purdue last year. Alabama 39-0 in the past 5 years when holding opponents to less than 30 points. But the Crimson Tide is 4-4 when opponents score at least 30 points. Ole Miss and Texas A&M have beaten the Tide when scoring 30. So if the Vols can get to 30, Tennessee has a chance to upset Alabama at Neyland Stadium on Saturday. Tennessee averaging 46.8 points per game, leads the SEC in total offense at 547.8. Alabama ranks second in the SEC in scoring defense at 12.5 points per game, and first in total defense and 250 yards allowed. And they just allow 84 yards a game rushing. There's your magic number. It's 30. If Tennessee doesn't score 30 and probably more, Amanda, they have zero chance of winning this game, and it's probably one-sided if they can't get to 30.
How do you not get to 30? Tennessee's offense, how do they not get to 30 this year? Is there been a game that they haven't gotten to 30? Because I'm pretty sure there's not.
No. I mean, I think that
Pitt.
Well, I think Alabama's defense is that good where you would be concerned about getting to 30. But right now, with the way they're clicking, I will go ahead and tell you I would be absolutely stunned if Tennessee didn't get to 30. I don't care if it's Alabama's defense or any other defense in the nation that doesn't have an NFL shield next to it.
Yeah, and Tennessee did get to 30 in overtime at Pitt. Sorry. Regulation, no, but overtime at Pitt, yes. So I don't see Tennessee not getting to 30, and I understand Alabama's defense is really good. I get all of that. And I think it honestly depends on some of the officiating, as Ryan Brown pointed out, that, Alabama doesn't get as many, pass interference or holding or whatever defensively calls as they would somewhere else. But with that being said, no SEC team gets as many of those penalties when they face other SEC opponents. When it's an SEC officiating crew, they don't get those same penalties either. You could look at Alabama, Texas A&M. If you review the tape and whatever, you can see down the field, Alabama does it, Texas A&M does it. So it's not like it's an uneven or not fair, either way. I think just this offense, this type of offense that they run now, that everyone's running, it's harder to see those calls. It's harder to call that because if you do, you're going to be calling on every single play, and this game is going to take 6 hours. So continuing on with that. I don't see Tennessee getting any less than 30. I know it's a great defense. I get all that, but I don't see there's any possible way that Tennessee plays anybody and gets less than 30 points.
All right, so today's tough question. How many points does Tennessee need to score against Alabama to win? I was going to say 20, 30, 40, 50. That's overly simple. Sometimes we like to add layers into today's tough question. So if that's overly simple, too simplified, let me know. But I think that's a good starting point for today's tough question. And I think they've got to score 40, to be real honest with you. I mean, I think 30 is kind of like the bare minimum. Ryan brought up a great point that we're all very aware of. Joe says Tennessee scores 38. I don't know if they score 38 if they win. Chris says Gary Danielson needs to stay away from Knoxville.
Gary Danielson needs to stay away from college football in general. It's not just Tennessee. It's not just, I promise you, he rags on Alabama just as much, if not more. Every Alabama fan I know out there hates Gary Danielson.
Well, Gary Danielson doesn't like the way the rules have been changed concerning RPO plays. And he's been miserable about it for 5 years. So if you're miserable about something for 5 years, change it.
Let it go, Gary. Let it go.
But, it is what it is. He doesn't bother me as much as most people. Maybe that's because he's been nice to me in the past. And we've gotten along. So what are we going to say? 20, 30, 40, 50? You like that?
Yes, but I'm changing it a little bit because I think it depends on, I put if Bryce Young plays. It depends on if Bryce Young plays or if Jalen Milroe plays. Because obviously, if Jalen Milroe plays, you could probably score 24 and be fine.
What about what Ryan said that some players want to have that surgery, that tightrope surgery, as elective? That reminds me of the Tommy John surgery that there's like 13-year-olds, little league players that parents are taking their pitcher to and say, we want to have elective Tommy John surgery. What the H is wrong with you?
That's a little much. Any parent that chooses elective surgery for their kid that's not needed needs to be shot. I'm sorry, but they do. Like all of this stuff, it's a kid. They're kids. They don't know. You're a kid. You remember when you were a kid, you didn't know anything. Nobody knows anything. When you're 18, you can make those decisions, and not just about sports, but in general, everywhere else. But as a kid, no, that's ridiculous. They're kids.
I'm 38 years old and I don't know anything. And
that's fair.
Maybe older. But I do know that Pettigo Chattanooga, locally owned store, that you'll be treated like family. They have the e-bikes that are the best in the industry, and they have the fantastic customer service where if anything goes wrong and you need service on that bike, you'll be able to get it. And you can't get that if you just buy an e-bike online. Pettigo Chattanooga, they have rentals. And once you rent one, you're going to want to buy one. And they're the best e-bikes in the biz. So certainly check it out. Pettigo Chattanooga. Again, Pettigo Chattanooga. And they are simply awesome. Yeah, elective surgeries for kids is something that would lean away from.
Advise against elective surgeries for kids, or electric ones. Don't do that either.
Electric
but I know
therapy?
Yeah, let's not do that. But I know that when Tua got the ankle surgery, he did both because he had a problem with one ankle, but it does make your ankles stronger. I know that, and I've heard back then when he got it, that was like 3 or 4 years ago. Well, he got that surgery. I heard that people do that.
Yeah, he had he had it at 2 different times. It's not like you went in and want both ankles done. Like maybe a woman would have some sort of other job done. You want both of them done. But we're not talking about ankles. Something else. Cody says everyone except Bama fans are picking Tennessee to win. I agree. It feels like their time. But McCullough getting arrested feels like the most Tennessee thing ever. Man, I was thinking the same thing just the other day, Cody. I was thinking like, you got it all lined up, and my goodness gracious. And elective surgery, I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, especially with where our healthcare system is now. I mean, there's no better place to get sick than a hospital. I mean,
for real.
I mean, elective surgery on a kid? No. Brittany's saying
not a kid.
Yeah, Brittany's saying I hate to have surgery at 30. I can't imagine getting my children elective surgery. That'll be a thing. Ryan said that, and my mind perked up. So the Tommy John surgery, people want elective surgery for their 13-year-old kids. The next thing will be the tightrope surgery when a guy has an ankle sprain in high school basketball. So
at 18 and 19 and 20, when you're a consenting adult, you can make that decision on the elective surgeries. And I know that ankle, the tightrope surgery, is now something that people are doing because it does, like Ryan said, they have perfected that, and it does help you significantly. I mean, it's significant, the way it makes your ankle stronger. So if you can prevent having ankle injuries, why not get that surgery?
Because you haven't had an ankle injury. You don't have
but maybe you do. Maybe you've had one before.
You don't have surgery for, well, if you have, I mean, I've got a left ankle that I rolled, and still to this day, one ankle is more likely to roll at my age than 17. So yes, I rolled the ankle. I had a high ankle sprain when I was 17 years old. So yeah, I mean, that I'm a candidate to do that, but I'm not going to do it just to strengthen my ankles without an injury.
Yeah, but that's an elective. If you rolled your ankle, right? You don't need the surgery to be able to use it or to walk on it or whatever. But you've rolled the ankle, and you know if you have the surgery, your ankle will be stronger and you'll prevent that injury. That's still an elective surgery.
Well, there's a little bit of a gray area there. If you have a bad enough ankle sprain, which is torn ligaments, then the old way of doing it would be to put screws in there. And
Right.
that's what obviously you don't want. I mean, that would be the extreme. So given that, yes.
Yeah.
But
It just increases circulation. That's all that it does.
this surgery was put in place to hasten a return. So Cedric Tillman, if this was still Jeremy Pruitt as the head coach, which goodness knows, a lot of things would be different, but he wouldn't have undergone this surgery, I don't believe, to get back for the Alabama game. I think he just said, peace out. I'm done for the year. You guys can go be 6-6, and I'm going to go to the NFL, make sure my ankle's 100% on its own. I think that's what he would have done. But he wants to be a part of this team. So he hates
6-6.
Not if Jeremy Pruitt's still around.
Oh.
So
Okay.
it's the point I'm trying to make is that he wants to come back. So he had the
Right.
surgery because this team has something special going on.
Yeah, he would have transferred out, I think, if Jeremy Pruitt was still around.
Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of crazy things would have happened if Jeremy Pruitt's still around. Maybe he would have started to use Wendy's bags instead of McDonald's to hand out the cash.
Hey, Wendy's is kind of expensive. Go Taco Bell all day.
Yeah, I go with my wife's cooking. That's a good way to go. Zool Beer Company. By the way, I was going to hold up the burrito. The breakfast burrito was fantastic. Thank you. Zool is our official craft beer of Off the Hook Sports. Zool Beer Company, XUL, ZoolBeer.com. You remember it because it was the bad guy in Ghostbusters. That's right. Zool Beer Company has a fantastic location in downtown Knoxville with parking. Unbelievable. Brittany saying if Pruitt was still here, we would go like 6-6, more like 4-8. It's probably true. Wow. That was one. It's just really still difficult for me to believe that hire was actually made. And I knew at the moment I met him, nobody wanted to hear it about at the time, but because everybody wants to like the new guy. And that's why I was just so hesitant with anybody, with Josh Heupel or anybody. And, but I've seen enough for Josh Heupel where I think if he's the coach to Tennessee for the next 10 years, they win an SEC title and maybe more. And they're definitely in the college football playoff multiple times because it's going to be 12 teams. I've seen enough of that. And for any of those that know my work, I will tell you the honest truth. And so will Amanda, which is what we bring to the table each and every day. Back in 2 minutes to stay in sports history, which I accidentally gave away yesterday. And your opportunity to win stuffs. Stay tuned. 2 minutes Off the Sports.
It's Gary Viles here, Viles Automotive on Callahan Drive. I've been selling cars here in East Tennessee for 27 years. In that time, I've come to realize it's not about the car. It's about you, the customer. So I'm here to take care of you just like family. Good credit, bad credit, you name it, we can get you taken care of. If we don't have it, we can find it for you. We go across the country to get any vehicle that you want. And here at Viles Automotive, we don't believe in fake numbers. We just give you great deals. And as always, we want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassy Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassy, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassy's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassy Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
This is Steve Rain. I own the Midnight Oil and Michelin Tire Direct service station here in Ottawa. It's not a fancy place, never has been, but it's a clean place with clean restrooms and good folks who work here. We sell gas and fix cars, nothing glamorous, but we love what we do and we're going to keep doing it for a long time to come. There's not many real service stations left, and that's a shame. We're the guys just like the guys back in your hometown. We'll fix your tire, change your oil, and put a new set of Michelins on your car. If you want a Twinkie, you'll just have to keep on going. Thanks for the business.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
There's your bear.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste.
A ton of top prospects coming in this week, and we will get to that this day in Tennessee sports history as well. We will also do some message board bingo, and I always wonder, as a prospect, it's Tennessee's job or any home team's job to kind of weed out the guys that are serious and the tickets they offer, because there are a limited number, but you're never going to turn down a 5-star guy. So, yeah, I look at the group that's coming in, and just to give you a very small representation, Amanda, I mean, there are a ton coming in. If you want to pull up that story by Caleb Giroux, who's doing a fantastic job, and despite his LSU ties, he's a very objective reporter. We got people with ties all over the place. We're like a Men's Warehouse.
Well, oh my gosh, that was terrible. But
that was good.
I think what you want is, if you're a real fan of anybody, you want unbiased opinions and people who aren't homers telling you what you want to hear. That's what you want. You want to know the truth. At least I do. If I'm listening to anything. Okay.
Yeah, the truth.
But really, it doesn't matter anything in life, politics, religion, sports. I want the truth. All I want is the truth. Don't sugarcoat it for me. Just give me the truth.
Mrs. Blunt, that's who she is. All right, so
that sounds a little weed smoking, kind of.
Oh, I didn't think of that. Are you a big Cheech and Chong guy, Beastie Boys person? Is that you, Mrs. Blunt?
No, I do not. I do not partake in that.
Well, you could still like them. I love the Beastie Boys.
I was like, no, I don't do that.
I mean, how do you not like Ill Communication, that album, or Paul's Boutique going back in the day before copyright laws and they sampled everything? There's probably only 25% of that album that's actually the Beastie Boys, if you go back and listen. So do you have the list of Caleb Giroux that he put together of just some of the visitors that'll be in town? Let me know when you've got that ready. Are we good to go?
I will let you know as soon as I get it ready. I'm trying to filter through all of the articles that have been written since that was written yesterday.
Yeah, we're churning there on offthehooksports.com, so you need to check it out. Talking Cruton today, brought to you by the Andy Mason Group, a team of passionate, knowledgeable real estate agents with elite realty and over 38 years combined experience in the industry, and just a phenomenal person in Andy Mason that will provide you with the best prices, will provide you with the best service. How about that? It doesn't get any better than that. A lot of visitors in town. Here are some. We're talking Cruton, brought to you by Andy Mason Realty. Go to andymasonrealestate.com.
Talking Cruton.
Am I right or am I right or am I right?
Who's on Tennessee's board? The names you need to know, exclusively on Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker.
No, we haven't played that in a while. What do you got?
All right. So top recruits set to visit for Vols versus Bama. We have a 5-star prospect in an edge, and I'm going to just botch these names. I'm going to let y'all know right now because I cannot say things. So edge, Samuel Mpemba.
Mpemba, yes.
Mpemba sounds like
yes,
Lion King. I don't know why.
It does sound like the Lion King. I think he got an offer back in 2020. So he's certainly been on Tennessee's board. 6'3", 240 pounds, top 7 with Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, Florida, among others. It's been projected that he would commit to Georgia. This could be one of those guys that if Tennessee gets, you look back at it years from now and say, like a Cozy Coleman, Jamal Lewis, Deion Grant, that it changed the course of the program. And who's next?
Is the offensive lineman in Veason Bison Lang. Vysen.
Yes. A very overrated meat is venison. But this
I don't
three-star
eat it.
recruit announced via social media that he would be in Knoxville on Saturday. Lang was extended a scholarship offer from Tennessee in February. I think this is from who I talked to, a developmental player. I don't think he's going to be a guy who steps in right away, but I think he can be a guy who's probably a guard, but the type of guy that Tennessee has to recruit two types of guys. One, the guys that are out in front early on, and the other are the guys that they develop into good players that maybe the Alabamas and the Georgias are not extending offers to. Who is next?
Next is Tyree Weathersby. He's a defensive lineman, and he's a 4-star, but he's committed to Tennessee already, but he will still be in this weekend.
Yep, he's committed. And then the names just keep getting easier. Who's next?
No, they don't. Athlete Elias Williams, but it's spelled very weird. Elyis. Elias Williams. He's a 5-star. Yes.
2025, 6'6", 220 pounds. He's an edge rusher, tight end guy for Charlton County High School in Folkston, Georgia. Georgia appears as the early favorite, as you would think, being in Georgia. He's the number 121 prospect in the class of 2025. So the Vols looking down the road. And there's going to be a lot more that will end up at Tennessee this weekend. So it's up to the Vols to decide pretty early who you want to focus on and who you think is really interested and who may be just showing up because it's the biggest game in the nation. So
I mean, that happens.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be some dudes do that. Like I always said, it may not be the most ethical thing to do, but I would visit Hawaii and show sincere interest in them just so I could take a trip there.
Sincere interest, really? Nobody thinks anyone's sincerely interested in Hawaii. Let's not play. Nobody thinks anybody is sincerely interested in Hawaii. But I do want to point out that this is a different place, I think, for Tennessee to be in. Since Josh Heupel came here, you now have your pick of people who are coming to visit your school. You have all of these, big time recruits. And actually, at the end of the day, you're probably going to be able to choose some of them. You'll be able to not and say, nope, you don't fit, or yes, you do fit. And that's not something that you've had recently, not in recent past.
Crazy asking me Carnell Tate that is committed to Ohio State. Do I think he flips? Crazy, do you want me to answer this honestly? Or do you want me to tell you what you might prefer to hear?
Is he still committed to Ohio State? I thought he decommitted. Did he not?
Still committed to Ohio State. Here's what I'm hearing about Carnell Tate. First, let me tell you about the Nutrition World. Great place to go to order your supplements. I take the D, I take the E, I take it all. And it's good for you, and it makes a big difference. Don't laugh. I know what I did. Nutrition World is fantastic, bringing you nutrition, the best in natural health and nutrition since 1979. I take vitamin D and vitamin E and supplements, a focus factor as well that helps me with my brain. Tate is possibly coming with other IMG players. That's true, Joe. I feel like Tate, this is my read on it. I have not spoken to him personally, and this is not coming from anybody at Tennessee or any other school. I feel like Tate is enjoying the recruiting process, and I think that happens. I think that the going to the Tennessee-Alabama game's fun. I think he's too good to say, no, you can't come because we don't really think you're interested. I think you're interested in Ohio State.
It's annoying. I'm sorry. It's annoying to see these kids just like on Twitter, on social media, just trying to get, sending these messages like, oh, look at how good I look in orange. All the Tennessee fans follow me, like and whatever. I'm like, can the narcissism grow anymore? I mean, really?
In recruiting? Yes,
Yeah.
always can. Well, just when you think it can't.
Is it really like, do you have to go? You're thirsty. Stop being so thirsty at 17 for attention. Like, understand you're good. I understand people have told you your entire life that you're the best thing that's ever happened to the game of football since Joe Montana. But my God, like, can you just not chill for just a minute? Like, it's terrible.
Well, now with that being the backdrop, if I may offer this to you, Crazy, you would be crazy not to take a really hard look at Tennessee and what they're doing. So now, again, Ohio State's doing the exact same thing in that they're producing a Heisman Trophy candidate. They're producing guys that are absolutely talented at receiver and developing them, and they're doing all that. But Tennessee is in the SEC. Is that a certain appeal? And I think if Tennessee's able to flip Carnell Tate, it's that innate sort of feeling that's around this team that hasn't been around a football team probably in almost 20 years. And that is they really genuinely like each other and they genuinely want to do well for one another. And if he gets in that sort of culture, then yeah, he could flip. Now I don't know. I don't cover Ohio State as close, so I don't really know. But I mean, I think Tennessee has a pretty special culture and a pretty special thing going on. So he could certainly get caught up on that. Brittany says one of the downsides of social media for sure. Yes. Yes. So you get to keep putting your stuff out there over and over and over and over and over and over. And I thought that it was really funny. You had the one player who thought that it would be cool to share a picture that he took on campus with one of the support staff members of the recruiting office. I mean, that was odd because it was her birthday. I don't know.
Oh, that was the guy.
Let's not name him so we don't specify because it felt cougarish to me.
It felt cougarish.
I don't know. Just saying.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, that has been a thing in recruiting. Like,
no,
everybody knows it. There's a specified group of
no,
people.
no, not at Tennessee and every other school. Joe says, interested in your opinion. Why do you think the Vols can't get interest in a top level running back with the numbers we put up rushing? I think they're still viewed as a passing team, and also with the way they run the football with the option type of attack. It's not like you're showing off your skills running out of a more traditional type of attack, but you better get used to that because that's almost what everybody's running. So
the two backs. They run two backs. And I think a lot of people just want to be the back. You know what I mean? Jabari Small is obviously their first option, but they also, have Wright in there sometimes, and they have Sampson in there sometimes. And, they run two. So.
But doesn't everybody? I mean, there's usually one or two or three exceptions. Gibbs may be the exception.
Yeah, to an extent, everyone does. However, it seems like Tennessee, if you look at the numbers with Jabari Small and with Jalen Wright, if you look at those numbers, they're more compatible, more comparable than some other teams. I think what these running backs aren't going to realize, though, is that this is going to be the norm from now on. So as it's hurting Tennessee right now in recruiting, I feel, with the running back position, I think it's going to end up just evening out.
Gilliard, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, said, sorry I got here late. That's all right, buddy. But we're 8:30 Eastern time every morning. He just said, I wanted to comment, and I agree with Amanda that Tennessee's defense is pretty good. I would like to encourage everybody to hit like and subscribe, especially subscribe and share, because big things are coming down the pike, and we're excited, and turn those notifications on. So, but be sure and subscribe. 80%, and this is typical across all YouTube channels, of our viewers have not subscribed yet. So if you can click on that subscribe button, tell a buddy, we would greatly appreciate it. Chris says Philip had a stable of girls helping out with recruiting. And then added an LOL. You didn't need the LOL because that is absolutely true. And everybody else did, though, too.
Everybody has them. I mean, they're like called specific names. And like one school in particular is called the blank bells. So just I know that. I wasn't one. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't one.
Cowbells.
It's not Mississippi State. Calm down.
Chicks.
That would be Auburn. That's an Auburn thing.
Big chicks.
The cows.
Oh, that they have bigger female students? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not gonna harp on. I'm not fat shaming anyone.
No, I'm not either. I'm a fat kid at heart, and I will tell you the thing that blew me away about my trip to Auburn is the just regular. Crazy says hobels, just regular regular old dudes that look like me had super hot chicks on their arms, and
Everybody, every campus.
no, it's not. It's not. I went to in particular, it was Auburn, and it was also Mississippi State. So I went to Brandon says the Omega Moose. That's pretty good. So I went to the sports information department just to ask while I was getting checking in and everything, and I said, "Hey, is it just me, or does any old rube get like a 9 or 10 looking lady around here? Because there's a lot of good looking ladies." He said, "Yeah, you're absolutely right. A lot of the women come here majoring in marriage. That the goal is just to marry a dude who's going to make good money. So he's maybe an engineering major or whatever. It doesn't matter really what he looks like. It's the future. Maybe an attorney one day. Maybe a neurological doctor. Whatever. Doesn't matter if he looks like Barney from the Flintstones. He's doing okay." And there were a lot of Barneys walking around with. Who was Fred's wife? Fred's wife was a good looking. Wilma. There were a lot of Barneys walking around with Wilmas. By the way, those two, just FYI, those two couples were a little too close. This day in sports history.
Sounds like experience.
This day in sports history. Putting things in perspective. Exclusively on Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker.
You're so old. When you were a kid, rainbows were black and white.
And Amanda LaFratta.
New kids on the block just called. They wanted you as a backup dancer.
All right, we want to thank Brittany Campbell because she's awesome. She provides us with this day in Tennessee sports history, and I want to apologize for reading the wrong one because I'm bad with spreadsheets. Last night at about 10 o'clock, I did clip that out where I was talking about how bad I was at spreadsheets and crazy saying I drive a truck for a living and I know how to use the spreadsheet, and I cut that out and I sent it to my old boss.
Oh, I thought you meant you cut it out of the show, and I was like,
No.
jeez.
Terrible with spread. No, I sent it to her and she laughed. He said, "You figured them out." In text, I was like, "Nah, I really didn't."
Have you?
So this day on October the 12th, 1996, Tennessee defeated number 12 Georgia for their 6th straight win over the Bulldogs. Why is that significant? Peyton Manning with 371 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and a school record 11 straight completions, which was later broken by T. Martin against South Carolina, where they realized they were getting close to that record, and every possible short screen pass they could call, they called it. And it was just all about breaking the consecutive completions record because South Carolina was horrible, which they were.
That seems like disingenuous if you're going to do that.
It was every bit as disingenuous as the Michael Strahan sack record, where the left tackle just lets him go and Brett Favre curls up in the fetal position. Yes.
That's fun. That's fun. Are we doing message board bingo? I feel like we try to jump over that every day.
I'm not jumping over anything. It's the grand finale. Here we go. Message board bingo.
All right. Do fat coaches do better at Tennessee? Fulmer, good. Heupel, good. Neyland was a lineman. Jim Chaney was undefeated. Kiffin, bad. Set program back 10 years. Butch Jones trended up but lost weight, brought turnover trash cans to the sidelines, and got fired. Pruitt, bad. Dooley looks like Bob from Puppy Dog Pals, really bad. Is there something about one of your own coaching that works for Tennessee? Is this something Wisconsin should look at?
Who did they say Dooley looked like again? What message board is this on? And you can win a gift certificate to Craft Treats.
Bob from Puppy Dog Pals. I don't know.
It's not
I don't watch.
Puppy Dog Pals. It's actually Blues Clues. That's who he looks like.
No, he looks like the Puppy Dog Pals. He doesn't look like Blue's Clues, and that guy's name is Steve. I know that because my sister was 7 years younger than me, and we had to watch it.
Horrible.
Yeah.
So what board was that on? Daniel says Tennessee. Was it on a Tennessee board?
No, they're talking about Tennessee coaches. Why would it be on a Tennessee board?
Yeah, but maybe there should be a weight requirement at Tennessee.
Well, they're calling Josh Heupel fat.
Well, he's not fat.
I don't think anybody would call Josh Heupel. Any Tennessee fan would call Josh Heupel fat.
No, but it is a good point. The bigger guys have done better. So maybe there should be a weight requirement if they ever have to replace Josh Heupel. It should be like, I don't know, 250?
No.
All right, so we got Georgia, Bama, South Carolina.
Who got Georgia? Georgia's who it was.
Don got Georgia. So, Don, I'm going to put my email in here, and you are going to win one fantastic prize, and that is a gift certificate to crafttreats.com, where you'll get the chill pills. The chill pills are phenomenal for your pet, whether it's digestive issues, whether it's arthritis or anxiety. Again, go to crafttreats.com, use the promo code off the hook for 20% off. So tomorrow on the program, we will be visited by some special guests, and we're looking forward to that. We'll have this day in sports history. Don says my corgi needs it. God bless you if you have a corgi or any dog that is smaller than a football, because technically that's not a dog.
No, are we only doing one message board bingo today?
I mean, do you got craft treats flying out of your where?
I don't have any craft treats.
Okay.
I have some, but they're Ava's.
We'll do, yeah, you're not giving them away. All right, we'll do one more. Okay, here we go.
Downvote me away. But if Bryce Young plays, you take a 15-yard penalty and hit him late to make that shoulder bother him the rest of the game.
Gosh.
Hurt him, don't injure him, but you do that and make Bama beat you with the run game or with their backup quarterback.
I'm going to say it's a Tennessee person.
Stay classy, Tennessee.
It is.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
I think that stuff happens more than you probably think.
I'm sure it does.
Not that it should, but I think it does. All right, everybody, have a fantastic day. We'll be with you at 8:30 each and every weekday. She's Amanda LaFratta. I'm Dave Hooker. This is a presentation of Off the Hook Sports. And wait for the kicker. Here it comes. I think maybe